Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Darrell Brooks saga. I'm Jester, and today we're gonna finish day 8. It's gonna be the last part, and it's gonna have one of my favorite witness, the Detective Carpenter. So this is the cop that Darrell Brooks hates the most. He hates this guy. He's gonna be something else. But we're gonna start with we're gonna do this officer, then we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna end the day. And tomorrow, you don't wanna miss tomorrow's episode. It's gonna be awesome. All right, let's do it.
On duty, sir?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
I believe it was a little after 5.
Were you asked to assist detectives at Waukesha Memorial Hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to that location?
I did.
And did you meet with anybody there?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you meet with?
I met with Detective J. Carpenter and acting detective at the time, Detective Stern.
What did they ask you to do?
I was tasked.
Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
I was tasked with transporting Mr. Brooks to the Muskego Police Department.
Okay. So at this point, Mr. Brooks is in custody.
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And the person you were asked to drive to the Muskego Police Department, do you see him in this courtroom here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you identify him, please? And if Mr. Brooks would please remove his mask, Your Honor?
Objection. I don't consent to
Please
being
remove
called
your
that
mask.
name.
Oh, thank you. You were.
The thing about now, Brooks, is that if you don't consent to being called that name, then why did you say that was your name on the video when you got arrested? Just saying.
For the 100th
Apologies.
time.
Go ahead.
It's the black male sitting at the table with the black suit and the mask that he just put back on.
Where did you first meet?
Oh, hold on. The record should reflect he did point to the defense table, and the record will reflect he identified him. Go ahead.
Okay. Where did you first meet Mr. Brooks?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer,
Also a little
sir.
bit more aggressive.
The Waukesha Memorial Hospital, the police hold room.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? Mr. Brooks was talking over you.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. Go ahead, sir.
At the Waukesha Memorial Hospital in the police hold room.
All right. And where were you going to take him?
To the Muskego Police Department.
Why?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
Just ask why.
Detective Carpenter said that he was going to be there so that he can question him sometime in the near future.
To your knowledge, does the Muskego Police Department have a holding cell at their facility?
Objections.
Overruled. You may
Just to what?
You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And they were willing to house Mr. Brooks there under mutual aid?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So you put him in your squad car?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Tell us about that, your drive.
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
While going eastbound Wisconsin, there was multiple marked squad cars, so they're with their emergency lights on.
Do you know what they were doing?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
They were blocking traffic, investigating an incident that transpired.
Is it just you and Mr. Brooks in the squad car?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, it was just me and Darrell Brooks in the squad car.
Okay.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
My guy, you are incriminating yourself. He just said that was me and Mr. Brooks in that car. You say that you don't know any Mr. Brooks, so why are you saying that you don't consent to being? He never called you. He never said you. You hate being said you. But you didn't say that, so stop it.
Overruled.
And as you traveled in the area of Wisconsin Avenue, did Mr. Brooks make any statements?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Yes, Mr. Brooks said once we were going eastbound Wisconsin, and I quote, he said, damn, it looks like they were dealing with something heavy.
What else did he say?
He asked me if there was a basketball game going on or something tonight,
Wow.
and to which I replied, I'm not sure.
Okay. At some point, were you responsible for watching over him at the Muskego Police Department?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. Your answer may stand.
How long did you watch him for?
Objection, relevancy.
I
Overruled.
believe we got to the jail around closer to 1 a.m. I watched him up until about 7 a.m.
What kinds of things do you remember he did overnight?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. He may answer.
He slept most of the night. He got up around 5 a.m., asked for water. I got him water. And he asked to make a phone call to his daughter.
Okay. Did you allow that?
No.
Did, you said it appeared he was sleeping throughout most of the night?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
Other than asking to call his daughter, did he make any other statements to you that you can recall?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
I remember he made some complaints that the room was too bright. He wanted me to dim the room. Yeah, that's all I remember.
This is not a hotel, Brooks.
Like the lights in the room were too bright?
Correct, in the cell, holding cell.
Did you turn off the lights for him?
Objection. Leading.
No, of course not.
Overruled. His answer may
Why?
stand.
And were you relieved by another officer then later that morning?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Cross.
Yep.
That's a yes.
Yeah.
Then say yes.
You said that you recall checking every 30 minutes on doing like well-being checks, right?
That's correct.
And how do you know for sure that the suspect was asleep?
He appears sleeping.
I don't know for sure if you were sleeping. I know that the cover was over your head, and every time I go and check in on you, I can see that your chest was rising up and down from underneath the blanket. So it's a possibility that you were sleeping. It's a possibility that you weren't. I know that you were under cover, so it appeared that you were asleep most of the night.
So it'd be fair to say you're not sure.
Sure.
Answer stands, Your Honor. It's asked and answered.
Objection. And do you recall why the suspect was not allowed a phone call?
I was told that you had to wait for Detective J. Carpenter to talk to you.
Would you say it's fair to say that usually a suspect being detained is allowed a phone call at some point?
Relevance.
Grounds.
Relevant, sir?
Grounds.
No.
She's asking you.
Why do you believe it's relevant?
Why would contact to the outside world be restricted?
That's not an
Right,
argument.
it's, I'll rule that it's not relevant, sustain the objection. Next question.
Like he says, he's like the movies. He's like, I deserve a call. I'm entitled to one call. But this is not the movies, my guy. This is not a Western. They can do what they need. So you are. I don't know. Tell me in the comments if everyone in the USA is allowed a phone call after they are detained.
Do you recall where in the hospital this police hold room is located?
Where?
In the hospital.
Yeah.
Do you recall where in the hospital is located?
Inside.
Usually by where the police officers park their vehicles through the ambulance bay, straight ahead, and it's the second to last door on the right.
So, what was the point of that question?
And you stated that detectives informed you that they would need to speak with the detainee before any phone calls would be made.
That's correct.
To the best of your recollection, did they explain why to you?
Objection. Relevance.
Grounds.
Calls for speculation.
Grounds.
I'm sorry. Calls for hearsay
Grounds.
and speculation.
Are you offering it for the truth of the matter,
Yep.
sir? Then it's
Nope.
hearsay and it's sustained.
Yeah, I would say yes. And he's supposed to say no if he wants the question to be out.
Did you observe anything strange or while the recording was taking place?
I don't know what you mean by strange.
Like, did you notice any strange movements by the detainee? Anything that would alarm you in any way?
Nothing that would alarm me, no.
Did you receive information while you're at the State of Waukesha Police Department
Detective
regarding something that
Carpenter.
had happened at the parade?
Objection leading.
First of all,
You may answer.
you know what time it is. Gonna see the suit. I like his suit. It's kind of he's kind of bent over, so the thing on the back goes in, but that's not because of the suit. I don't really like blue suits like that. I like the little bit darker suits, but it fits with the white shirt and the red tie. So I'm gonna give him a 9. That's a 9 for him. Solid 9. And a bonus 9.5 because of the little pin that he has for his tie. So good.
I did. I was confronted by Officer Daniel Malo. He was working as a desk officer for the department that day. Officer Malo explained that a vehicle had driven through the parade route down in downtown Waukesha, that there were approximately 30 to 40 people down, many severely injured, some possibly deceased, and that there was also an officer-involved shooting involved in the whole event.
What did you do as a result of receiving that information?
The event kind of began to mold into two different forms at that point, in that there were numerous officers calling for ambulances in the downtown area for the injured, but dispatch was also beginning to provide information that there was an individual in the area of the 500 block of Elizabeth Street, which is a quarter of a mile off the parade route, that was loitering, and it was believed that may be the suspect, so I headed in that direction.
Now, prior to heading in that direction, did you have any information as to why this person in that area would be a suspect?
Objection leading.
Overruled. He may answer.
Yes, ma'am. A description had been provided of a possible suspect, and the descriptions being provided by the dispatch of the individual now in this area were comparable, nearly identical to the descriptions I was hearing of the driver from the parade incident. I proceeded over to Elizabeth Street, where the suspect, who was identified in the investigation as Darrell Brooks, was already in custody.
With regard to the person involved's physical description, do you recall what that was?
Objection leading.
Overruled. He may answer.
Information that I heard over police radio was an African-American male, blue jeans, and a red T-shirt.
So what did you do after receiving this information about a potential person in custody?
I responded to the immediate area. Mr. Brooks at that point was already in custody for loitering, as well as being a suspect at that point as the operator of the vehicle that went through the parade route.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name for the record.
Overruled. Your answer stands. Go ahead. Next question.
At the time that you made contact with this individual, did you have any information about the vehicle that had been used during the parade?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Yes, a red SUV. That was actually a red Ford Escape, specifically.
And did you have any information if that car had been located at the time that you went to the Elizabeth Street address?
Yes, it had already been located.
Did you have any information about that red SUV prior to going to Elizabeth Street?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
The information I recall having is that the vehicle was parked over on Maple Avenue, which is about 2.5 to 3 blocks west of Elizabeth Street, where Mr. Brooks was located and taken into custody.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled.
Did you have the opportunity to speak with an individual who was identified as Darrell Brooks at
Objection.
that
I don't
Elizabeth Street
consent to being
address?
called that name.
Go ahead. You may answer.
I don't believe I spoke with him at that address, but Mr. Brooks was transported to our substation located on Les Paul Parkway in the city of Waukesha, where I had opportunity to speak with him.
Did you see him at the Elizabeth Street address?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you see him in the court today?
I do.
I'd ask the court to ask Mr. Brooks to remove his mask.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
Can you identify him as he's seated and what he's wearing?
He's like, thank you, Mr. Brooks. He's like, for sure. You got it. I thought you didn't consent to being called that name. Which one is it?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Brooks is seated
Also, well,
to my
I'll
left,
come back to it.
wearing a dark-colored suit jacket, multicolored tie, surgical mask on his face, shaved head, and he did have a beard at the time he took his mask off.
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
It will reflect, thank you.
Sir, as you see Mr. Brooks today, does he look different than he did on November 21st of last year?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am.
How?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
At the time of the incident, Mr. Brooks had longer hair, a braided style hair that probably went midway down his back.
Did you obtain items that were located on the defendant's person?
Yes, I did.
What did they consist of?
So the items I received that were on Mr. Brooks' person at the time of his arrest, there were several items. One of them was a Wisconsin photo identification card. So it had a picture on the ID card that I recognized as being Mr. Brooks based on the fact I was with him at this time. The name on that identification card was Darrell Edward Brooks Jr., his date of birth being February 21st, 1982.
Call Edward.
There was also a green Wisconsin Quest card with Mr. Brooks' name on it, a silver American Express debit or credit card with Mr. Brooks' name on it, 2 Visa debit cards, one black, one white, both which had Mr. Brooks' name on it, and then there was a Georgia EBT card which had the name of Mr. Brooks' girlfriend on it.
Other than the identifying information that you just testified to, is anything else turned over to you
How many cars did
that
you
was
get?
removed from Darrell Brooks?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name and it's leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am, there was $4 cash, but also a Ford ignition key.
Now, you stated that there was a suspect vehicle that had been located.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any information prior to your discussions with the defendant about who the owner of that vehicle was?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, I did.
And who was the owner of that vehicle?
A female by the name of Dawn Woods.
And do you recall what her address was?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
4014 North 19th Street in the city of Milwaukee.
So 19th Street, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. Leading witness.
Overruled. The answer may stand.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 172. That's going to appear on the screen in front of you. Before we do that, these identifiers that you located for Darrell Brooks, did you take a picture of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name for the 100th time.
The 100th time, we don't care.
If you can
There they
specifically
are.
zoom in on the Wisconsin ID card. The address on that Wisconsin identifier.
There he is. That's the guy. Brooks Darrell Edward Jr. Not a driver's license. So I think he said he got a license. Male, 140. I'm 175, 180, depends on the day. 5'8", so I'm taller than him. He's a bro. His hair is also a bro. All right.
Identification card. Is that the same address that you recited for Dawn Woods?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
And the picture on the identification card, would that be consistent or inconsistent with what the defendant looked like on November 21st of last year?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
It's almost exactly what he looks like.
And who did he say his emergency contact was?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
Mr. Brooks indicated his emergency contact person was Dawn Woods.
And what relationship was Dawn Woods to him?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
It is Mr. Brooks' mother.
And did you subsequently obtain a phone number for Dawn Woods?
I did.
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
What is that phone number, if you recall?
Objection. Relevancy.
414-610-2153.
Nice. I don't even remember my number.
Now, when you asked the defendant for his name, what did he tell you his name was?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled.
I believe he indicated it was Darrell, Darrell, which, in speaking with him, and I can confirm seeing him today, Darrell Brooks or Darrell Brooks are one and the same. They are the same person.
Do you recall approximately, was this the car being driven while the parade, in the midst of the parade, after the parade, or before the parade, if you know?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Not hearsay.
So the photo we're looking at right here is right in the middle of the parade. So right now, the vehicle is within the parade route while the parade is ongoing.
And were you able to positively identify the driver of that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am,
Objection,
I was.
hearsay.
Overruled.
Who is the driver of that vehicle?
The driver of the vehicle is Darrell Brooks.
Thank you. Now, you had testified about some of the property that was recovered from the defendant, and you stated that one of the items was a card in the name of Erica Patterson. Do you recall that?
Objection, he did not say who was in the name of.
Sustained. Please rephrase.
Actually, if we can pull up Exhibit 172 again.
Objection, hearsay.
What do you mean
There's no
hearsay?
question
He's
yet.
pulling out the exhibit.
And if you
So-
can zoom in on the Georgia EBT card. Whose name is on that card?
Erica
Objection,
Patterson.
lady.
Is that like a... What is an... I don't know what an EBT card is. Is that like a... Like a bank? Something like that?
Go ahead. You can answer that again.
Erica Patterson.
Did you, at the time that you were at the substation, have any information regarding an Erica Patterson and her relationship to Darrell Brooks?
Objection, that I don't consent to being called that name.
Overruled. You may answer, sir.
Objection is hearsay.
Overruled.
Ms. Patterson was a significant other or girlfriend to Mr. Brooks and mother of one of his children.
Objection, not girlfriend.
You said we're gonna see it later on, but you say that's your girlfriend. So
Overruled. The
maybe
jury
she's
will
not
disregard
now.
that last statement, as Mr. Brooks is not testifying at the moment.
Well, keep it true.
Now, when you made contact with Darrell Brooks or while you're making contact with Darrell Brooks at the substation, did he complain of any injuries?
Objection, I don't consent to being called that name. I
Overruled.
think
You
the
may answer.
prosecution is trying to be funny at this point.
what? Why?
Yes, ma'am, he did. He
Well, I didn't hear the last thing, but I believe it was commentary. So just state your objection and I'll rule on it. It's been overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am, he did. He complained of two injuries, one to his knee, but primarily and mostly of an injury to what was his right shoulder.
Did he say how that occurred?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Yes, he did. Mr. Brooks told us that his shoulder was injured when he was arrested, indicating the arresting officers slammed him to the ground.
Did you have the opportunity at any point in this investigation to review body camera footage from Officer Rebecca Carpenter?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was at the residence where the defendant was taken into custody?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
Did you see any unlawful use of force on the defendant during that time?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled. The
Not
witness
hearsay.
may
He saw the
answer.
video.
No, ma'am. In fact, there was no force used at all. Mr. Brooks was given verbal directions by officers to get down onto the ground, and he did so entirely on his own power.
Based upon his complaints, however, was the decision made to transport him for medical clearance?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you transport the defendant?
Waukesha Memorial Hospital. Entering the hospital, we escorted Mr. Brooks, to a room so that he could receive medical clearance. I know there were some individuals from the parade that were injured in nearby rooms. I didn't really see many of them, but I knew they were close by. So we escorted Mr. Brooks into a room, trying to keep away from the victim so as to not make the incident any more tension-filled than it
Yeah.
really was.
How busy was it at the hospital when you brought Mr. Brooks in?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Extremely. There were victims due to the mass amount of casualties, many of which, survived but still needed extensive medical attention. It was very busy. Many of the victims were taken to alternate hospitals because Waukesha Memorial could not handle the.
Yeah, and can you imagine, like, if someone saw the guy that ran over your kids or something inside the hospital? Can you imagine the feeling that that person will feel, I guess? It's,
The amount of patients that were coming in.
Now, approximately how long did you spend with Mr. Brooks at Waukesha Memorial Hospital?
Objection. I don't consent to being called that.
Overruled.
Probably about 4 hours.
Is that in addition to the time that you would have spent with him at the substation?
Yes, ma'am.
Leading.
Overruled.
What was his demeanor?
Extremely calm. If I would describe it, I guess, to put it in context for the court, very similar to mine right now, based on his body language, his tone of voice, his attitude. You'd have never known he had done something or was in custody for having done something so serious.
During the 4 hours that you were at the hospital, were you, do you continue to complain about shoulder pain?
Yes, he did.
Were his actions always consistent with his expression of the pain in the shoulder?
Objection. Speculative.
Overruled. You may answer.
No, they were not.
Can you describe for the jury what you mean by that?
Objection.
He was doing
Speculative. How
this all the
can
time.
he know how somebody's body is feeling?
that's,
Overruled. He may answer, given as long as he answers with his understanding. Or what he saw.
Observations is what I was saying.
Observation.
Yes.
Thank you. I think that's what you said. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So Mr. Brooks, when he would speak to me throughout the evening, he would move his arms about, he'd put them out to his side, he'd move them back and forth, he'd raise them up and down. He was talking about being in severe pain, but I would describe the way he'd move his arms and such as basic body mannerisms and basic interpersonal interactions. His hands, his arms, everything moved completely normally when we would speak. There was no favoring of that shoulder or anything to indicate, other than what he was saying, through physical action, that there was any type of injury there that I observed.
During this time that you were with him and he was getting medically cleared, first of all, did he get medically cleared?
Yes, he did.
Objection. Speculative.
He didn't need to be...
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Overruled. His answer may stand.
Did he need any treatment while at the hospital?
No, he was checked out. The doctor came in and looked at his shoulder. I do not believe any medications were given. There may have been, I believe they took an x-ray to check it, but he was ultimately cleared and turned over to police custody.
And during the time that you were with him while he was getting medically cleared, what type of conversation were you having? Was it general conversation, or were you talking to him about the loitering?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. You may answer.
I remember him telling me that baseball was his favorite sport and things of that nature. He was upset that the Packers had lost the game. So it was general conversation, not related to why he was specifically in custody.
At some point, did you decide that you were going to try to talk to the defendant about at least the loitering incident?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Do you know approximately what time that took place?
11:04 p.m.
And how did you approach this interview? You've now been with Mr. Brooks for maybe 5 hours, would that be fair?
Yes.
How did you decide to approach this interview with him?
Objection. Leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
I just explained to Mr. Brooks that I simply wanted to speak with him about why he was in the neighborhood where he was discovered that night, what was going on, what led to him being there, and that I was just looking to have answers to that if he was willing to provide them.
For the
Objection.
court, it is the audio interview of the defendant. That took place on November 21st, 2021. It's previously been addressed by this court.
Objection.
Remind me how long it is again?
Your Honor, the entire video is 25 minutes approximately. I'm asking to play from 4 minutes and 25 seconds to 14 minutes and 25 seconds approximately. Well, it would be 10 minutes.
I presume you'll have questions regarding that once you play it.
Correct.
All right, given that it's just before 5 o'clock, I'm going to stop for the day. We can pick up with this tomorrow.
The tease. The
With
tease.
that, you are excused for the evening. We'll see you tomorrow morning. All rise for the jurors, please.
Okay. I think that's the jurisdiction thing that he is ripping off. And he's looking at them while he's doing it. So there you go. There's no proof that there's subject matter jurisdiction. He just tore it up and now it's gone. It doesn't exist. He never received it. All right, that's gonna do it for day 8. We're gonna come back tomorrow for day 9. It's gonna be awesome. The day 9 is incredible. So be ready for those episodes. All right, thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode. I'll see you then. Bye bye. Have a great day.